Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to talk about books. And today's video is really special to me because I have always wanted, if you don't know, if you're new here, I've always wanted to collect some of those old vintage paperbacks. I have always been in love with Paperbacks from Hell. Those covers, those books just look so good to me. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. And I want to read all of those old stories. You know, there's books from the 70s and the 80s, and I missed on all of those, and I really want to build up a collection of those stories. But the problem is, especially where I live, it's really hard to find these books. And recently I found someone online that is selling me basically most of his collection bit by bit. And I have been living for it. And honestly, if I would go to eBay to try to find these books, I would spend so much money. It is not really worth it. But this guy is selling the books to me like such a fair price. Like, I'm paying for these books between €5 and maybe 10 to 12 euros, the most expensive ones, and that is totally fair. That is the price that I would pay nowadays for a regular paperback. So the fact that I'm able to find these old beautiful paperbacks, it's just such a joy to me. And every time he sends me a package, I'm so excited like a little kid to unbox it and, you know, to add the books to the collection. So I have been accumulating some of those books and I'm here to show them to you. And a couple of them are actually featured in Paperbacks from Hell, which I just can't believe. And some of them are even first editions, which I'm just like over the moon. So I'm here to basically proudly present you the books that I've been able to find.
It's coffee time.
I'm gonna need some coffee for this. So these vintage paperbacks, the things that attract me the most, to be honest, is the covers. Because most of these books, or some of them, you can still get them in newer releases, or you can get them for your Kindle, but these old covers are just everything to me. I really love them. So I'm gonna show you the covers in detail for these books. I don't always do it for every book haul, but I feel like these ones deserve it. So I'm not gonna give you too much of a synopsis. So the first book that I picked up, all I know is that it's about vampires, and it had the cutest cover, and that is this one here. Is so cute. It's called The Last Vampire by T.M. Wright, and the creature in this cover, it's just absolutely the cutest. So here's how the cover looks like up close, and I mean, honestly, look at those teeth. It's just adorable. So that's all I know, that it's about vampires, somebody that stumbles upon the world of the undead and vampires, and that's all I needed to know. And this book specifically is from the 90s. I'm gonna tell you guys the years that the books were published so you know how old they are. The next book is also from the 90s, but the reason why I picked this one up is not because of this specific edition. It's not the best edition, but it's because I really wanted an old copy of this book because it's a coming-of-age story that I've heard amazing things about and I still have not read, and that is Boyce Life by Robert McCammon. So this is how the paperback looks like. It's nothing too special, but I decided, you know, since this seller had it, I might as well pick it up. And like I said, this is a coming-of-age story. I believe this boy and his dad witnessed a murder or somebody dying or something, and they decided they need to figure out what happened to that person, if I'm not wrong. But what I heard the most is that this is a very powerful and quite devastating coming-of-age story, so that absolutely calls me and I need to know. So it's a bit of a chunker, but hopefully I'll have time to read this. And this is how the cover looks like. Like I said, nothing too special of this edition, and this is how it looks on the inside. Our next book is from the 70s, and this book, it is featured in Paperbacks from Hell, but not the exact edition that I own, and that is The House Next Door by Anne Rivers Siddons. So I've been meaning to pick up a copy of this book for the longest time, but the new editions in paperback are quite expensive. So I had hoped that I would find an older paperback for cheap, and I found this one for $5. It is not in the best condition. I think it's one of the ones that it's in the worst condition, but I can still read it, you know, and I have an older copy, an older edition, and this is a tale about neighbors, and it's quite disturbing. and I love to recommend this book to people. I mean, from this edition, it is the first edition of this specific cover and copy, and this one is from 79, so it's kind of like an older one. And if you guys want to see the cover, this is how it looks like up close. Next, I have another book from the 70s, and that is Julia by Peter Straub. And this one is also not a first edition, but it is the first edition of this cover. The first edition was in 75 and this one is from 76. And all I know about this story is that it's about a woman that is dealing with something that happened to her, a tragedy. I think she lost her daughter, and there is something that is hunting her. That's all I know. That's the pitch. I don't know too much about all of these books, but I do want to read it, and I love this cover because it's like a creepy doll cover. So this is how the cover that I have looks like. Next, I have a first edition of a paranormal romance book about vampires, and this one is from 92, so it's a 90s vampire book, so I'm so excited about this one. And it is this baby here, Kiss of the Vampire by Lee Weathersby. And I mean, this cover, I'm loving it already. I'm hoping it's not, you know, a love triangle from the 90s, but we shall see. Honestly, I'm just expecting to be entertained and have a lot of fun with this one. And this is how the cover looks up close. Next, I have a book that is one of my favorites by Anne Rice, and it's not a vampire book, it's The Mummy. So the original one was published in 89, and this is a copy from 91, but it's still an older paperback, and I really wanted to grab one. I read this one when I started college, so a long time ago, and I never reread it after that. So I think at some point I would love to revisit this one and see if it still holds up for me. It's part of a series as well. And I think I only read the first book back then, so maybe I can, you know, now complete the series. So here's how the cover looks like up close. The next one is another vampire 90s book, and it's a first edition from 94, and it's this one here. It's called This Dark Paradise, and again, I'm only expecting to have a good time with this book. I don't have high standards for this ones, but I just feel like they're just gonna be, yeah, entertainment and a lot of fun. Also, something else that I loved about this cover, apart from the cover itself being beautiful, is that if you open it, you have this family picture here, this portrait here. I absolutely love it. I wish they would still do this nowadays. The next book is not actually horror. This is a mystery thriller, but I really love this cover. And this is a book that was published in 83, but I have a copy from 84, and that is When the Dark Man Calls by Stuart M. Kaminsky. I don't know. This cover was something that I needed to have for some reason, and I have been trying also to find a couple of mystery thrillers like that are older books, because I just want to know what kind of thrillers they were doing back in the day, because I feel like now everything has been done. So maybe if I read a book from the 80s, it's gonna be tropes that I have read a lot about already, but I don't know, maybe if I read mystery thrillers from the 80s, they will be different from the ones nowadays that all feel a little bit the same. So I don't know, I'm just curious. And here's how the cover looks like. Then I'm trying to find and collect all the books by James Herbert, including the Rats series. So this is the second book, called Lair. This one was originally published in 79, and the copy that I own is from 82, so it's still kind of an old paperback. And I would like to collect all of these ones so that they match, and then read the whole series, because so far I have only had the Rats here, so that's the only one that I could read. And this is how the cover looks like. Next, I have a book that I'm so excited that I found, and that is Creature from 85, and this is the first edition. And I know that it has something to do with a creature that lives in a castle, and after a storm the creature kind of comes to life, I believe, and starts killing and mutilating women in the village. Yay. So that's all I know. But I'm just really intrigued about this one, and I'm so happy that I found it like randomly as well. And this is also a first edition, which is really cool. And this is how the cover looks like. Another first edition that I found from the 80s comes from 89, and that is this beautiful thing here called Time Double by Dick Barrett. And the pitch for this book is a psychic little boy is being stalked by a monster. That's all I know. But yeah, I am so happy that I found this one as well. I just love the cover so much. And here's how the cover looks like up close for you guys. And now I have a V.C. Andrews book that I was able to find, and it is a first edition from '93, and that is Darkest Hour by V.C. Andrews. And I wanted this book so bad because it's another one that has this cover here with the family portrait, and I love this so much from the old vintage paperbacks. I've always wanted to have some that have that, and these are the first ones that I have been finding that have it, and I'm just over the moon and excited about it. It's so simple, but I'm just so excited that I have some books that have that now in the collection. I know it has a name, but I just forgotten how it's called, and I'm just not going to be bothered now to Google it. But I know this type of inside cover thing has a name. I just forgot how they're exactly called. And here is how the cover looks like up close, and if you open it you have the family portrait. The next one is also featured in Paperbacks from Hell, but this is not the cover that they feature, and that is The Keep by F. Paul Wilson. But I really love this cover, and I didn't own a copy of the book. The original book was published in 81, and this copy is from 85. And what I know is that we are in Transylvania and we have some Nazis there, and I think they uncover some sort of evil, something is released that starts killing the men. That's what I know. That's the kind of like vague pitch that I can give you before I read the book. But yeah, I just really like this cover as well. And here's how the cover looks like up close. Pretty cool. The next book has such a beautiful, stunning cover. It is kind of simple, but it's so beautiful, and I'm so excited for this story as well because it's said to be something similar to the Amityville Horror. So that is this beautiful baby here. It's called Ghost House by Claire McNally, and it's supposed to be a family that is trapped inside a house and all the horrors that happen in there. It's also not too chunky, which is perfect. And I am just so intrigued about this one. And here's a close-up of how the cover looks like. I just love that it's so simple but so beautiful and effective. I just love it. The next one is a Chunky Boy from 84. This is a first edition, and I have the feeling that this one is going to be really gory and disturbing, so that's why I picked it up. And that is Headhunter by Michael Slade. It's chunky, and I think it's the first one on a series of books as well, so I might have to find the other ones. And all I know is that it's about a serial killer, and I'm guessing that he is not gentle with his victims and he's quite brutal. And I don't know if it's gonna be really like body gore extreme, not really sure about that, but I have heard that it is really disturbing, so I'm here for it. I'll give it a try. Yeah, this cover is quite unsettling as well, so pray for me. So here's how the cover looks like up close. Like I said, quite disturbing and unsettling. And now I have 3 books that have the exact same cover featured in Paperbacks from Hell, which I am, like I said, extremely excited about. I never thought that I would be able to start collecting books that are featured with that exact same cover in Paperbacks from Hell, so I'm just like extremely excited that I managed to get this ones. The first one is The Fog by James Herbert, and this is not the first print, but it is the original cover that is featured in Paperbacks from Hell. So the first time this was published was in 75, and this edition is from 86. But you know, to me, first edition or not doesn't really matter. What I love is the cover, to be honest. So the fact that I'm able to find these, it's just amazing. And here's how the cover looks like up close, which is quite disturbing, to be honest. The next one also featured in Paperbacks from Hell, and this time I was lucky enough to get the first edition, is The Turning by Justin Scott. And this is about a leader in a group of people called the Revelationists. Is this a cult book? Maybe. I'm really intrigued about this one, to be honest, because if this is a cult book from back in the day, I really want to know what it's about. And this one was originally published in 78, and this is the first edition from 78. And here's how the cover looks like up close for you guys. And the last one that I have that was featured in Paperbacks from Hell and also happens to be a first edition has one of the covers that I find the cutest, because I love covers with skeletons wearing human clothes. I don't know, it's weird, but I love it. And it's this one here. It's called Dead to the World by J.N. Williamson. And we have here a skeleton. He's a jogger, a runner, he's a sports guy, and he's wearing a tracksuit, but he's a skeleton. So I just think it's funny. This is a first edition from 88, and here is the cover up close for you guys. I mean, look at that guy. He's so cute. I just love it so much. And because I have been purchasing all of these books from the same seller, so in the last package that he sent me a little present for, you know, being a good customer. So he sent me this special edition here. It says Special Collector's Edition, Fangoria Vampires. So it is about vampire lore and vampires, I guess, maybe in media, in movies and things like that. So I'm just really excited. You guys know I love vampires, so I was really pleased to get this as a bonus book. So here's how it looks like, and this one came protected with some plastic foil, but here's how it looks like. And this is the first edition from 96, so another 90s book. I just love it. So basically this book haul is mostly books from the 70s to the 90s, which is, you know, the sweet spot. Alright guys, so those were the vintage horror paperbacks that I have accumulated so far. Needless to say, I'm still gonna buy more books as long as he offers them to me, because I cannot seem to find these ones really anywhere here except eBay, which is extremely pricey. So finding private sellers that are getting rid of some of these books has been a blessing for me. So you can expect more vintage horror paperbacks book hauls in the future as well. I hope that you enjoyed to see them. I was just so happy that I got them. I was so excited to share them with you guys as well. And I'm just so excited that I get to expand my horror collection when it comes to those older vintage horror paperbacks, which are the hardest ones to find for me. I don't have access here to big flea markets and library sales and big things that people in the US have access to, or sometimes in the UK. So I feel like for me it's so hard to get them that when I get to get some of these, I'm just over the moon excited and super happy, because it doesn't happen that regularly. Hope that you enjoyed to see them. I hope that you enjoyed to see my excitement on these books. Let me know if you also love those older paperbacks, if you have access to them where you live. Is it easy for you to collect them? Let me know down below. Is there any of, you know, those vintage horror paperbacks that you absolutely love? Let me know which one it is, see if I can find it. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed it, and as always, you guys, thank you so much for all the support, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye.